Yeah, thank you, Rina, for this excellent glimpse on the future. I think you have convinced many in the audience to bet on the train, not on the rocket. So I would also like to thank all our other speakers in the presentation here. And I'm sure it's now time for you in the audience to raise up your questions. So please use the opportunity. You have the experts available here who will be willing to answer your questions. So please feel free to send us in your questions. I have already received a number of questions. And I start with the first one, which is, I think, quite easy for Rinat. Will this release event online streaming be recorded and released afterwards?
Yeah, so as last year, we always share the videos afterwards on the website, the AutoSAR website, and it's cut, and you can share that, of course, inside of your community. And yeah, just have a look on that some days after the release event.
Okay, thank you. And for Rinat, another one. What prevents adaptive platform from going beyond mere ASIL-B? If there is an underlying ASIL-D POSIX real-time operating system, could an AB target a higher safety level?
Yeah, as you mentioned, there are many ways to achieve ASIL-D. And if we look on adaptive side and also other POSIX systems, there are not too many that can claim this requirement until now. I also recommend to everyone to look on a safety manual to any other systems you assess here. But on your question, the ASIL-D is usually a topic, especially on the scheduling, the memory management, and you know that the ISO 26262 requires a lot of process requirements, more than, I think, a little bit less than a half are coming for test management, for the whole requirements engineering. So if you cover all these things, you still need the right safety mechanisms for that. And this system, I would say, context is very hard to reuse then. So just to make it short, at the moment there are no ASIL-B systems even running with adaptive. We are on the way to this, but as soon as someone, I think, can claim that, this would be a great milestone for us. And for ASIL-D, you must even have more confidence, which can be assured properly with a classic platform system, usually.
Okay, thank you, Rinat. Now I have one for Huzaifa. In what perspectives mode-dependent configuration is different from watchdog? Hopefully, mode-dependent configuration will strengthen functional safety adaptation. What all measures are implemented in adaptive AutoSAR for functional safety?
Okay, so that packs 3 questions in one. So the first one is mode-dependent configuration versus watchdog manager. So I started off my slide by discussing platform health management, which is an adaptive platform concept or adaptive platform implementation. And since it has a close synchronization with function groups, so this is an idea that is currently only realized in adaptive platforms. So the clear difference is Watchdog Manager is a classic platform terminology, whereas mode-dependent configuration is a mechanism within platform health management, which has its field or habitat currently in adaptive platform. So that's how it differs. The second part was was more like a comment. We hope that mode-dependent configuration will strengthen FUSA adaptation. We hope so too. And I think this is pretty much evident from the fact that there were a couple of OEMs that were strongly behind this concept, as well as at least one stack vendor who wanted to implement this as soon as possible, and the owner for this concept came from tier 1. So, the whole hierarchy of the AUTOSAR was involved in this kind of a concept, and interest was there. So definitely it would strengthen the FUSA adaptation. The last question was about the measures of safety within adaptive platform. So to name a few bigger ones, it's platform health management within the working group safety, end-to-end protection, again, within working group safety. Apart from this, we have a third subgroup within working group safety known as functional safety architecture. And what it's trying to do is to create a so-called RS safety, which would kind of model the ISO 26262, taking adaptive AUTOSAR, or now it's independent of adaptive and classic. It would target both in the future. So the architecture of AUTOSAR as a safety element out of context and try to perform a very abstract level of functional safety requirements, technical safety requirements on it, driven from the concepts, of course. And this is how we would ensure a lot of things, or would try to give let's say, one document to the FUSA engineers within the AUTOSAR field, specifically adaptive AUTOSAR, who could try to implement those kind of safety features. Apart from that, there are some concepts where safety group is not the originator, but as a lead working group, we take a close look on those topics, such as deterministic execution, or some hints about dynamic memory allocation, etc. So that's probably most of the things, or the most important things, that I can mention from functional safety in adaptive platform. Thank you.
So, thank you, Huzaifa. You showed you have a very safe storage of 3 questions in your memory, and you answered very well. So thank you. And now I have a question for Richard. Okay. For Richard, what is the recommended and more perspective binding for ARA COM, some IP or DDS? What's your guess?
Yes, well, first of all, I'd like to say that in IVC, we don't see the two as competitors, but mainly speaking as two different alternatives. It basically depends on the situation from where you're coming. SumIP has been elaborated along in AUTOSAR Classic platform and has good possibilities between AP and CP communication, also with the signal to service network binding over SumIP. While DDS is only, getting up to full speed. As you saw in the presentation, we are adding basically DDS features and supporting them in AUTOSAR. What's also a good hint here is basically, if you want to have communication with classic platform, this currently requires SumIP. But if you want to have for example, communication with ROS, that would be over DDS. So I think we try to harmonize them as two side-by-side standing alternatives and as developments. And with that said, I may also hint to another question that was in the chat. Basically, since we have this concept in IVC AP in communication management of network and language binding, I think it's perfectly fine to support different network bindings. So your classical SumIP communication, either over signal to service SumIP in adaptive, or the SumIP communication in classic platform. And in adaptive, this is enhanced also for more, let's say, IoT application needs with DDS. That has the OMG DDS standard also behind its back.
No, thank you, Richard, for this comprehensive answer, and it shows that we have quite a clear plan what alternative to use for what. It's not just guessing; it's really a plan behind. So, for Oliver, which layers do high and low proxy modules utilize within classical architecture? I believe these were in release 20 software clusters.
Okay, thanks
think you can answer
for
it.
this question. Yeah, of course. So in the beginning of the concept, there was, of course, the proxy module idea is realized in the release 20. But as mentioned, the idea of the concept is to have binary compatible interfaces so that you can really do an independent update. And therefore, we needed to look to each individual basic software module cluster like diagnostics separately to check if this binary compatibility can be held. Because taking the diagnostic as an example, there are typed interfaces. So if you use here this not the proxy approach, then you always need also to update the host cluster together with the updated applicative software cluster. And therefore, it's always the point to find an individual solution, and there we need to look to each basic software module individually to check how to make a binary compatible interfaces. For diagnostic, I think it's done like that. The serialization and deserialization is done in the high-level proxy and not in the host as usual in the normal DCM implementation. And this applies to any other clusters. For Watchdog, for example, it was the point, should we really make each call down to the host and calculate there the classical Watchdog basic software module? Or do we local calculations, local configurations, so that we don't need to update all the time this host software cluster? And that's the new part of the concept, to make here the basic software usage more independent from the host software cluster to make this updatability possible at the end. So I hope the question is answered. Back to.
Thank you very much. Now I have again one for Rinat. Are there any statistics about the code contribution regarding the origination region or something else? I think I don't remember that we have such data, but Rinat, you can better answer it.
Yeah, sure. So first of all, we are faster than the questions are popping up. That's a good sign. So no homework today until now. And on the code side, we are really, of course, looking on the contributor. The contributor is part of a company. We are a B2B organization, which is we are contractual bound to the company. And this company has, of course, a location. So we could say which location this person is contracted with, but we don't track any data from which region, city, or IP address the person is really then contributing. And so we don't sort it on this, I think, criteria. For us, it's important to view on the B2B side from which location the partners are coming.
Thank you, Rinat. Now again, I have one for Huzaifa. When will the interfaces be defined for System Health Management Master client?
So I probably wasn't clear enough with the presentation. Actually, I had a similar presentation last year as well, where we delivered most of the concept, but part 2, where we did the standardization of application interfaces, was part of this release. So now, if you take a look at the latest release, you'll find the interfaces. Maybe I could be a bit more specific. So what we've defined here from health information is supported in adaptive platform in the context of global supervision info, health channel info, function group info, and in classic platform, the health information is kind of supported with global supervision info, local supervision info, and BSWM mode name. These are all part of the specification known as ASWS Health Monitoring. So kindly take a look at it. You'll find the interfaces there.
Oh, thank you. Now I have a question. We have to see who can best answer it. Are we also looking for new sensor actuator interfaces like MIPI and other extensions in hardware abstraction layers? Suppose Rinat is something which could. Ah, you take it over. Okay, fine.
Yeah, Oliver is the perfect guy for that. It's good.
Yeah, as member of the architecture group, I know all the modules and so on. And finally, I have no idea that there is a concept running for this MIPI extension or interfaces, but of course, everybody is all the time invited to join AUTOSAR to add such interfaces. AUTOSAR is in general extensible so that you can add such additional or new hardware abstraction layers. So the current approach, which is quite often used for such specific interfaces, AUTOSAR has a support of complex drivers inside the classic architecture. And in these complex drivers, you can, for example, add such an specific hardware driver also to maybe non-standardized hardware and so on, and access via other basic software modules this complex driver, or populating the complex driver also to software component interfaces so that you can maybe have a more efficient interface to this specific hardware from your software components. So in general, AUTOSAR is flexible enough to support such interfaces, and if it should be standardized, every partner is welcome to do it. So, and I would propose, let's do it if this is really an important upcoming interface.
Mm-hmm. Good opportunity for new partners. So,
okay. Of course, yes.
For Richard, what are the differences between ComProxy in the classic platform release 21-11 and old ComStack? And there's a second question: how to cooperate? How could these two concepts cooperate?
Mm-hmm. Well, for the first question, the proxy for AP, I can quite good answer it, that we have a new trigger API. For the CP, I'd have to take that with me for the specific changes, as there has been quite happening, and how to cooperate these two concepts. Basically, I was wondering what this relates to. If it relates to the adaptive platform, what we had before with SumIP and DDS, it's basically that we have a language and a network binding, which are interdependent, and the C++ language binding basically says what we're going to do the network binding, so to the connection of SumIP and DDS. As for, well, if the questionnaire means also like a reference to classic platform, and maybe it's hinted to what Oliver said in the flexibility. Oliver, maybe you can provide your thoughts to that, or the questionnaire might repeat this question in a bit more detail.
Of course, I can try to at least give my thoughts. So if it's really about the classic platform flexibility, this is, I tried to mention, so the flexibility, we need to have these binary interfaces. So, and therefore we have this low and high proxy idea, low proxy for the host and high proxy for these software clusters. And here we need to establish for this binary compatibility different mechanisms. So for the COM, it was, for example, if different sensor so the software clusters will receive the same signal, we need to have specific mechanism to populate these signal indications to the different software clusters. This is the new functionality of this high proxy. Still, of course, just one buffer is used for the different sensors, so we do not copy the data to each sensor to each software cluster application, but at least maybe if this is not precise enough, then please repeat your questions in more detail.
Okay, and next one goes to Rinat. Rinat mentioned 3 AUTOSAR standards. Is the third one the vehicle API?
I mean, to be precise, there is a third one already now. It's the foundation. So if you started from this overall overview picture, the foundation brings you in the capability that you can connect with a non-AUTOSAR system even, because the whole protocols are included. So first standard, I would say second standard, then classic platform, adaptive platform. And if we talk now about the vehicle API, which is then coming then as a fourth standard for the connectivity of the car as an edge item. So I rather would say it's a fourth standard for the vehicle API to reuse VSS and other existing protocols for that.
Thank you, Rina. And I have now again a question. I'm not very sure who can really answer it, but we surely will find the right expert. Are there any plans to introduce 802.1 AR? It's a secure device identity for 8021 AE, Mac security besides port-based access control. So who can answer it? It's about, I think we have some activities with Mac security somewhere in AUTOSAR.
Exactly. So maybe I can also try to answer. So there is the MacSec concept coming up. So I would assume that it's the AE, the Mac security standard, at least the IR. So the secure device identity standard. I do not know in detail if this is part of the MacSec concept. This we need to double check. And the port-based access control, I would assume this is part of the switch driver. I'm not sure if the switch driver is already supporting this kind of port access control, but I would assume so, because you can fully control the switch software via the AUTOSAR interfaces. And at least for such port-based accesses or port-based configurations, there are at least solutions, AUTOSAR solutions in the market available, to my understanding. So I would say wait for the MacSec concept and look, have a detailed look to the switch concept of AUTOSAR, or the switch support of AUTOSAR.
Yeah, I think that's a good point, Oliver. It will kind of start now in January, like with a small concept group. So maybe explaining this and also a little bit better, it's easier to understand. We have concepts which are accomplishing the new activities to the working groups, and every partner can file in a concept paper. MacSec is already filed in, so it will start now in January, and then you can be part of this discussion, which is connected mainly with IVC and, of course, security. So we are looking forward to have the next piece of the puzzle for the dependability cluster.
Oh, thank you, Rinat. And I think you showed clearly that AUTOSAR is a living standard. We have always to address new challenges, and there is always ongoing work to bring up new features. Now I have a question for Huzaifa. Is it foreseen to have similar updates in the classic platform, like mode-dependent configuration on AP, on the adaptive platform, to enable dynamic adaptation of the behavior on classic?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a good question. So currently there is no concept that's foreseen for this, but I think that's something that I can discuss with my team. Maybe we should start thinking about it. In the meantime, I think I would also take this as an opportunity to do a bit of marketing. So anyone who has interest from the classic platform side within Watchdog Manager, we have a few experts in our team left. So it would be nice if you guys could join. And if there's an interest from the company on this specific area of, let's say, dynamic configurations for classic as well, Watchdog Manager, then yeah, please feel free, more than welcome, join us, and let's make a concept out of it.
Thank you, Huzaifa. Now a question for Oliver. What is the rationale to remove functional cluster RESTful communication in adaptive platform release this year?
Yeah, thanks for the question. So this is, not on one hand, one quite easy to answer. On the other hand, not that easy, because RESTful, of course, is always a term which is quite often read and demanded to be supported by AUTOSAR. But if you look back, what was the ARA REST, which so the functional cluster was called? It was introduced to establish an alternative communication like to ARACOM. So really to have a predefined setup and to make a kind of replacement to the SOM-IP protocol. But this was never really finalized, and also therefore the methodology behind was not finished, and there was always, I would say, it was not really ready to use at the end. And then we looked to the market demands, and here the REST communication, which is, for example, required for an upcoming concept like service-oriented vehicle diagnostic, SOVD. This is also based on RESTful communication, but requires a more dynamic RESTful communication, as is usually used in all the HTTP or across the all HTTP protocols and devices we know in our daily work. And this dynamic was not achievable with the current REST API, and therefore we decided to drop it, because either we need to finalize it to make it really workable, or we drop it, and we decided to drop. And if needed, we will introduce more compliant RESTful API to the current market needs.
Okay, thank you. Now a question for Richard. Are there any extensions of vehicle-to-X stack towards ITS and other telecom standard support?
Well, yes, we are basically working on it, but we are working on the basis of this. So V2X and IVC are collaborating quite closely. What we are currently working on is the basis and foundation to have different V2X standards working together, as far as I can say. And we are trying to achieve this on classic on adaptive platform. And on classic platform, we already made some progress on this. And on adaptive platform, we'd like to tackle this in this release. So there are concepts on the way for that currently. And well, that is as far as much as I can say, because without building a basis for that, I think we have a hard time of enhancing the current standards if we are not also taking into scope that the world is large and that there are different V2X standards to take into account with an efficient architecture.
Oh, thank you. Now a question which goes to Richard and Oliver. To make automotive deployment of advanced TSN network designs and SDNs in general possible, and plans to collaborate with ongoing IEEE standard groups like QCC?
Well, Oliver, do you know any further collaboration? Exactly.
At least I'm not sure about SDNs because it leads, I think it's more in the direction of 5G, if I understand it correctly. At least TSN support we have, and also we do collaborations with IEEE standard in AUTOSAR. So I would say in general, yes, so we collaborate, but I'm not sure if we support these specific questions here. So currently with TSN, we support the time sensitive, so the time synchronization, but also here specific features are excluded, like the Grandmaster clock, because this feature is normally not required within a vehicle. This is more required for, if you make a time synchronization in a building, for example, then you use that, but not in a vehicle. Therefore, we would need to check if these specific features are required for vehicle architectures, for e-architectures in vehicles. And of course, then it will be supported, because we try with AUTOSAR always to support the EE architecture needs in the market. And if it's not needed for vehicles, then I would also probably say for reduction of complexity, we will not support it. So I think it depends a little bit. At least the terms are quite new to me. Yeah.
Oh,
sorry, just to add some things. Thanks, Oliver. I think that's the discussion in the working group, but we see also that TSY is very much in the focus in adaptive and also bringing in the safety perspective and to that. So there are also some concepts stated for that for next year. Besides that, there are people bridging to IEEE at the moment, which are like participating in both organizations. This is, I think, the key for us to make it work properly and to make the gap plannable. Because just right now, IEEE is just another normative standard. Just to say it like that, we need to observe from the platform level, and we definitely will have the gap analysis done together in the next year.
Okay, we are coming close to the end of our Q&A session, but we will have afterwards in the networking area again a chance to talk to the experts and discuss further. But the last question to Rinat, you know outerwear activities. Would you share the differences between outerwear and AUTOSAR?
Yeah, I would like to go on with the afterwards question because there's more content behind it. Just to clarify that, so log and trace was not part of the overview because it simply added the protocol specification to Foundation. So it's a kind of refactoring of the log and trace parts. That's why I think it was not mentioned in the concept overview. And the one before with outerwear, it's quite frank, just to say there's no connection at the moment between outerwear and AUTOSAR. And I think for the future, at the moment, there are no discussions ongoing.
Okay, so thank you. I would also like to thank our audience. Was I think a very lively audience. So thank you for your many questions. And you, as I've mentioned, you still have an opportunity to meet our experts in the networking area. Please look at your Hopin screen on the left-hand side, zero. There is a sign, it says Expo. And if you use the Expo button, you can select between Expo for working group speakers. Here you will find the experts to which you can talk. And also you can choose the Expo, the booth admin, AUTOSAR admin. For those who are interested to become partner of AUTOSAR, you get all the information with respect to partnership in this networking area. So there is a new question, so we allow probably for this one, Oliver and Richard, any update in requirements specific to secured software update in signal to service mapping scenario? So it's the last one which came up.
At least I cannot get the question finally. Richard, can you answer it?
Muted.
I'd also am just looking at
because I would say AUTOSAR in general supports a secure software update, of course. So we have here enough support, but normally this software update is completely independent of the signal to service mapping scenarios in adaptive platform.
Exactly.
So
exactly, that is the
therefore. Maybe that's the point, but maybe this is an invitation then, especially to our booth. So, of course, we need a short time to switch over to the Hopin platform, but then please join us and then we can maybe continue this discussion bilateral.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I think it's a good idea. So I would like to thank you, the experts, for answering the questions so well. And I'm sure you will have further interesting discussions going on. And I would also like to thank the audience and have a successful meetings then in the networking area. As I've mentioned on your Hopin side, left-hand side, the last button on the column on the left-hand side, Expo, and select the right booth, either working group speakers or AUTOSAR admin, depending if you want to continue with the discussion, then use the working group speaker button. In the other case, if you want to become partner of AUTOSAR, you see admin AUTOSAR. So thank you, and I hope you have enjoyed our release event.